welcome to Pride Transport. First thing we're going to talk about is pay. A few things we need. One trip sheet for every trip hauled. We'll talk about trip sheets here in a minute. One sheet per trip. They need to be complete and scanned by 10 a.m. in the office here or at the truck stop. As long as we get that information by 10 a.m., we can generally process your payroll that same day. You also need to scan bills of lading and receipts when you're doing your TransFlow scanning. Along with receipts, we need to make sure that things like lumper receipts, parts, repairs, tolls, we don't usually do tolls because we've got Easy Pass, but if you do have to pay a toll, we need the receipt. Always write your load number on all of your receipts. Okay, Comdata is the card we're going to use for fuel, payroll, advances. You can have your money directly deposited into your bank, or you can put your payroll on your Comdata card. Or you could split it. Put part on your card, part on direct deposit. Let's talk about advances. There's two types of advances. We do a personal advance 3 times a week. Our system will look at your personal advance account on Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. It will bring your balance that's available to you up to $60 on those 3 days. You can't take more than $60 at a time. The total amount you can take is $180 because we put 60 in 3 times a week. If you take $30 out on Monday, for instance, you'll have $30 available until Thursday when we put another 30 in there. So the amount never goes over $60. This advance is done right at the fuel pump. You swipe your Comdata card, it will ask you if you want cash back. That is this advance. You don't need a PO, you don't need to write it on your trip sheet. It just automatically is deducted from your pay on your next payroll. The other type of advance that we do is a company advance. This is where we send you a Comdata check. If we send you a Comdata check, you need to turn in a receipt for the amount that's on that Comdata check. And you also need to get a PO number and write that on your trip sheet. But if you're using your Comdata card to pay for an expense, and that's going to be fuel mostly, fuel and CAT scales, if you're using your Comdata card to pay for an expense, you do not need to write it on your trip sheet, and you do not need to get a PO. This is a ComCheck. I'm sure most of you are familiar with ComChecks. A ComCheck is worthless until you have the express code. The express code goes in this box right here. When you ask for an advance, we're going to send you a code. You put that code in this box right here. You put any Pride phone number right here in this box to the right of that. 1-800-GO-PRIDE is an easy one to remember. So express code, Pride phone number, amount here, the date, who you're making the check out to, and then you write the amount here. You do not have to call Comdata. You do not have to put your driver's license number in here. Just these 2 middle white boxes need to be filled out. Let's talk about income tax really quick. State income tax. Pride Transport holds business license in Utah only. If you do not live in Utah, we will not withhold state income tax out of your paycheck. Before I talk about vacation, I want to talk about holiday pay. Pride Transport pays holiday pay. We pay for the 6 major holidays to all Pride drivers. That's Christmas, New Year's, Thanksgiving, Labor Day, Memorial Day, and the 4th of July. You have to be with Pride for 90 days before you're eligible for holiday pay. It's a $100 PO. That is automatically added to your pay. If you work that day, you get paid for whatever work you did plus the $100. Let's talk about vacation. After you've been with Pride for 1 year, you get a check for a week of vacation. After 2 years, it's 2 weeks. After 5 years, it's 3 weeks. After 15 years, it's 4 weeks. 120,000 miles a year is the minimum amount required to be eligible for vacation. In the first 2 years of employment, 120,000 miles and above, you get $500 for each week accrued. At 140,000 miles, that bumps up to $750 for each week accrued. Teams need to run at least 17,000 miles per month to be eligible for vacation pay. All right, let's move on to the pet policy. Pet policy here at Pride is a small dog, 20 pounds or smaller. Please be reasonable. I'm not going to weigh your dog. Okay? It's a $500 fee to have your small dog on your truck. It is not a deposit. You do not get your money back. We can do payroll deduction on that $500 fee. We normally is $50 per week until you pay the $500. See me for that form, and make sure you have that form filled out before you put a dog in your truck. Our rider policy. Rider policy is $30 per month. Now keep in mind, Pride Transport does not make any money off of our rider policy. As for the rider insurance, go straight to the insurance company. There's a few rules. The rider must be at least 8 years old. You can only have one rider at a time on the truck. There is no waiting period. You could have a rider on your truck as long as you get the paperwork in the day you get out of orientation. They do not have to be family. There's no partial payments. What that means is if that person, your rider, is on the truck for 1 day out of the month, it's $30. If they're on there for the whole month, it's still $30. Get that form in the safety department. You can fill it out, email it to us, take a picture and email it. You could fax it. You just have to have that completed form in your truck, and we have to have a copy of it here in the office before your rider gets on the truck. I'm going to put the trip sheet up on the screen. This is the trip report sheet, 1 sheet per load. Driver name, driver code, driver 2 and driver 2 code if you're a team. Pickup date, drop date, origin city, final drop city. It's very important that you understand origin city and final drop city. The origin city of any load is the final drop city of the previous load. If you pick up a load in Salt Lake City and you go to Denver, Colorado and deliver that load, you would turn in a trip sheet on the load Salt Lake City to Denver, Colorado. Then you're asked to go to Cheyenne, Wyoming to pick up your next load, and you pick that load up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and you take it to Chicago, Illinois, the origin city of that Cheyenne to Chicago load is Denver, Colorado. That's because Denver, Colorado was the final drop city on the previous load. The reason you need to do that is so that the system catches the deadhead movement from Denver to Cheyenne, Wyoming. There's also a multiple stop there, box yes or no, and then off to the right you've got trailer number. It's asking you if this is a produce load, and it's also asking you if the bills are scanned into this load. Now there are a few instances where you will not have bills to scan. The first one is a turn. When we do a turn, two Pride trucks meet at a specified location and they swap trailers. When you swap trailers with another Pride driver, that ends the load. Wherever you swapped it at, that load is done for you. For instance, I pick up a load in Salt Lake City going to Stockton, California, and I'm headed across the desert on Interstate 80, and my fleet manager asks me to stop in Winnemucca, Nevada, and do a turn with another driver. When I stop in Winnemucca, Nevada, and I disconnect from that trailer, that load is finished for me. What started out being Salt Lake to Stockton ended up being Salt Lake to Winnemucca, Nevada. That's why you don't want to put the final drop city on this trip sheet until you're sure what the final drop city is going to be. That's the first instance where you will not have bills, because what you're going to do is you're going to give the bills to that other driver. The bills stay with the load and the trailer. The trip sheet stays with you. So make sure that you're giving those bills to that driver you did that turn with. Also, blue and white stickers. These blue and white stickers need to be put on the front page of every set of bills. Every time you pick up a load and they hand you the manifest or the bills of lading, take one of these stickers, put it on the front page of those bills. Doesn't need to go on every page, but on the front page of the bills you're going to put a sticker with the load number and the trailer number on it. Okay? That is the first instance of not having the bills to scan with this trip sheet. Another one would be local delivery. If you have a load that has too much time on it, let's say, and you would like to drop it here in the yard and keep trucking, the load delivers here in Salt Lake City, but you're going to be here a day early or 2 days early, we can arrange to have that load delivered for you. You need to make sure you get it approved through your fleet manager before you drop that load here in the yard. Send your fleet manager a message asking to drop the load in the yard. Once approved, drop it on the south side of the property up against the fence. We call that the loaded line. Make sure it's got plenty of fuel, and take the bills in to dispatch. Give them to someone. Don't put them on a desk somewhere. Don't leave them. Either day shift, night shift, weekend, hand those bills to someone and let them know that the load is running here in the yard. In this instance, again, you don't have the bills, but you need to get paid, so you're turning in your trip sheet with no bills. You're scanning it with no bills. You would put no where it asks if the bills are in there. Another instance of not having bills would be dropping a trailer somewhere. If the customer wants you to drop the trailer, loaded trailer, and leave the bills in the bill box, that would be another instance of not having the bills. Most of the time, you're going to scan the bills at the same time as you scan the trip sheet. Now let's talk about extra pay items. Extra pay items are those things that you get paid for other than miles. and I'm going to give you a little tutorial on extra pay. Here it is. Basically, there are 6 extra pay items: layover, breakdown, stop pay, detention, hourly pay, and then the produce layover. Okay? Detention. Detention is paid $15 per hour 2 hours after your delivery appointment. Okay? Not when you got there, but from your appointment time. Detention is paid on any pickup or delivery as long as you follow the rules. There is no detention on produce loads. Now, we pay so much better for the stop pays. A lot of our drivers that make the best money here at Pride haul a lot of produce. So no detention on produce loads, but every other type of freight, it's $15 an hour beginning 2 hours after your delivery appointment. Rule number 1, on time. You have to be on time to get paid for detention. Rule number 2, at 60 to 90 minutes from your appointment time, you have to send in the detention macro. Okay, so detention macro, 60 to 90 minutes. And then rule number 3, you need to send in your loaded or empty call when you get your bills. That signals the end of detention. Okay, so that's how detention works. This has got to go on the middle section or the second section down, and you need to get a PO for it. Layover. Layover is a 24-hour period where you are without a load. So you get empty on Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. If you're not actively under a load Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., we owe you 50 bucks. Okay? Same thing. Second section down on your trip envelope, and you must get a PO for layover. Breakdown's basically the same thing as layover. As far as pay goes, your truck's broke down for 24 hours, we owe you $50. We will also pay for motel if your truck's in the shop. Hourly pay is when you're working. For instance, dispatcher asks you if you'll go deliver a local load here in Salt Lake City. It's not your load. You're just hanging out in the driver's room, and they ask you to go next door and make a delivery for them. Obviously, you're not getting any miles, but you are spending your time, and you deserve to be compensated for that. It's $15 per hour when you're running local or hourly pay. Now, if you have to go next door to pick up a trailer and go load it up north, that's just part of the load. Okay, we're not going to pay you for every little thing that's part of your load. You get paid by the mile for that. But if it's not your load and someone asks you to help them out, it's $15 per hour. You have to get a PO for that as well. All of these things need to go on your trip envelope. Top section is your expenses. The second section down is where all of these things go. Okay, got to have the date on there, got to have the name of it, whether it's layover, breakdown, stop pay, the amount, and you got to get a PO. Okay? Obviously, if you have any questions, talk to your dispatcher, or I'm available anytime.